Hi, it's Kristen, and this is the summer bucket list tag. This tag just has a bunch of questions all about, like, if you were doing a summer bucket list, what are the kind of things that you would like have on your summer bucket list, and then it relates it back to like reading and books. So I have the questions down here, so if you see my eye line going down here, I'm looking at the questions. So number one is Hit the Beach, a book set by the water. So first of all, I felt like I had to go with Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is about two writers who go on holiday to this like small sort of coastal town, and they both write very different genres, and then they decide to swap genres for the summer and write the kind of book that the other person would write. And then, you know, they bond and they fall in love. I really enjoyed this one. Considering it's called Beach Read and the cover is this, they don't actually spend a ton of time on the beach or by the water. So I've also gone for a second book. This one, not remotely beach, but very much set by the water, and that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This is about a king from one kingdom and the princess from another kingdom, and she is sort of forced to marry him for a political alliance. But his kingdom is like a series of islands that are all connected by a bridge. And just completely surrounded by water. So there's lots of like them going on ships, lots of like jungly rainforest setting, lots of rain, lots of water. This one was a really fun fantasy read. I've yet to read the sequel, but I thought this would be right up my alley because it's got like that arranged marriage trope that I really like, and then it's, you know, she secretly is actually going there to attempt to murder him or like find out the kingdom's secrets, unbeknownst to him. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Thought it was very fun. Looking forward to reading the sequel. Question two is Watch Fireworks, a book with a fiery romance. For this, I struggled to think of like one particular book, but I did go for an author, and I went for Tessa Dare. They're not like super intense, fiery romances, but I do think she writes tension and like passion very well. I really enjoy Tessa Dare as an author. Like some of her books I prefer more than others, but generally I quite like the dynamics she has between her hero and heroine. Like I said, the tension and the passion she writes, and I think she writes a good sex scene. So if you want a historical romance, I would recommend Tessa Dare. Number three is Go for a Road Trip, a book that involves a journey. For this, I'm going for The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This is also set by the water because Amina Al-Sarafi and her crew are pirates. So they go on a journey on their pirate ship. They travel between different points, different countries, different communities, and I would also say they go on an emotional journey. But yes, there's a lot of travel in here, traveling by boat, traveling on foot, traveling to sort of different realms, maybe. And yeah, this one was very fun, pirate fantasy. So that definitely involves a journey. Then we have number four, Camp Under the Stars, a book that left you starstruck. This I've gone for The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The reason it left me starstruck, well, first of all, I think it's very fun because they're all like actors and actresses, and this is like based in old Hollywood, so they're stars. But this book particularly was a 5-star read for me after like ages of not having a 5-star read. So it surprised me in that way, which was really lovely. This is about Evelyn Hugo, who is an old Hollywood star, and she hires someone to write her memoir and give like a deep dive on her life, which she's never done before, talking about her 7 husbands and the love of her life. So this one I feel like doesn't need hyping up because so many people have already read it, so many people have hyped it. But yeah, it left me starstruck because it was a 5-star read after so long of not having a 5-star read. And I always thought I would like it, but I never thought I would love it as much as I did. So then we have 5, Marathon Some Movies, a book you couldn't put down. I've gone with The Appeal by Janice Hallett. This one is like a murder mystery, but it's told entirely through like emails and other mixed media, so like articles, flyers, reports, things like that. And I just got really swept up into this. I think the setting is very fun. It's a small village, like an Amdram theatre company doing a performance. There's like a charity appeal going on at the same time. And I think all the characters and the character dynamics were quite fun. The way you see them email like different people and they say different things about each other. I sped through this considering it is like a chunkier book. The way it's written had me just like powering through it, and I really wanted to know like what the final mystery outcome was. So I read this one really quickly and I really enjoyed this. Also going with the same question, I have 5 Spy by Holly Jackson. This one I marathoned in that I read it entirely in one night. So this is set from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and it's these group of kids on like spring break, I think it was, and their RV breaks down and there's a sniper. And the whole thing takes place in one night. They're trying to work out exactly what's going on and potentially escape. And I thought it would be fun to read it in the time frame it takes place in. So there is a vlog on my channel of me just staying up all night to read this. And that was like a fun experience. The book, not my favourite Holly Jackson, but still quite enjoyable, and reading it in that time frame was it's quite intense. But yeah, I had a fun time. Then we have 6, Go Out for Ice Cream, a book with a sweet romance. And for that, I've gone for Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. It feels like kind of ridiculous to talk about Jane Austen as if people won't know the plots and stuff. But Northanger Abbey, I think, is an underrated one in terms of the romance, because I think everyone talks about Darcy and Lizzie from Pride and Prejudice, you know, Anne and Captain Wentworth and like his love letter are kind of iconic in terms of the romance for that. But Northanger Abbey, I think, generally is an underrated Austen, as underrated as Austen can be. But I think Catherine and Mr. Tilney just have a really like sweet dynamic. They're very Catherine's quite a naive character. Mr. Tilney is quite a playful character. They tease each other. There's like banter, but they also like look out for each other. And I really liked their romance when I first read it. And the 2007 adaptation of Northanger Abbey with Felicity Jones and Jojo Field, one of my favourite period drama adaptations ever. But I think they get like the really cute, playful dynamic of the characters really well. So if you are interested in the story of Northanger Abbey but you don't necessarily want to read the book, or you're not like that into classics, I would definitely recommend the film adaptation. So that's my sweet romance. Then we have question 7, Picnic in the Park, a book that was a breath of fresh air. For me, it's one I don't own, it's one I got out of the library, but it was The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. And that was a breath of fresh air for me because it was a 4-star read that came after having like a bunch of 3-star reads with a couple of 2-star reads mixed in there. So it was one where I was like getting into a reading slump, was just going, I'm not loving anything I'm reading. I'm liking some stuff, but I'm not loving anything. And then I read Space Between Worlds, and it really surprised me in how much I liked it. So that was a breath of fresh air for that reason. But it was also like a sci-fi about like different worlds and these people who like travel into the different worlds for the purposes that the like government gives to them, but maybe there's something underlying that's not quite right, or they're not properly informed of the reasons why they're having to go. And there's like a couple of twists in there. It was a very sci-fi heavy book, like straight sci-fi, when I hadn't read any sci-fi for a while, so that was very fun. It reminded me like how much I can enjoy sci-fi. So for those reasons, it was a breath of fresh air for me. And then question 8 is Go for a Hike, a character who conquered an obstacle. And for that one, I've gone for The Martian by Andy Weir. Just because I think, is there any bigger obstacle than being stuck on Mars by yourself? This is about a character called Mark Watney. He's on a mission with a bunch of his like space crew, astronauts, on Mars, and then there is a problem and they have to quickly leave, and they think that Mark Watney is dead because they sort of see him not get out in time, or like something blows up and he's inside. So his crew assume he's dead, so they are very sad, but they leave. And then it turned out he wasn't dead. So he's just stuck on Mars by himself, and he has to work out how to survive. This one I really enjoyed. I think the humour in it is very fun. And yeah, again, I feel like it's not one that I really need to talk about a ton because a lot of people already know it or have read it or have seen the movie. But yeah, this is one I very much enjoy. Another sci-fi. Number 9 is Grill Some Barbecue, a book featuring delicious food. And this one, I honestly couldn't think of anything. I just don't think I've read any books that really feature food very heavily. I was like looking at my shelves, I was looking at my Goodreads in case there was like a library book that I just couldn't remember because I don't physically have it. But nothing was jumping out at me. So I don't really have an answer for this one. I don't know that I'm the kind of person who would read a book about food, like about a chef or anything like that, because I enjoy food. I love eating. I like good food. But I'm not like a massive foodie. I'm not one of those people that necessarily cares too much about like how it's cooked or like the specific like concoctions or like all the really specific ingredients of that. I'm just sort of like, if it tastes good, I'll enjoy it. So I don't know that I've ever like gravitated towards books that talk about food in depth. So I honestly don't have an answer for this one. So sorry for that. And then lastly, we have question 10. Watch the Sunrise, a book that inspired you. And for this one, I'm going to go for one I listened to an audiobook last year, I think, which was Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which again is quite a famous book, or people have seen the movie with Reese Witherspoon. I really enjoyed Wild. It's about a woman, like the author, it's memoir, who decided to hike the PCT, and her life has kind of like fallen apart. Her mum died, she got involved in like drugs, she cheated on her husband, got a divorce, has like a very messy life, and so she's like, I'm just gonna do this really big hike. And it's all about like, we get flashbacks and her talking about her past and like the dark times in her life, and then we get her actively hiking and her journey. And I don't know, I just left it wanting to like accomplish something, like do a big walk. I think it was also the fact that I had been thinking about getting back into like running again at the time I was reading it, and we had really nice weather that week, so it was like sunny, it was like nice to be outdoors, I was doing a lot of walking, I was thinking about really getting back into running because like several years ago I did a half marathon and I was very into running, and then I sort of tapered off and just like occasionally went running. But I'd really been thinking about like properly getting back into it and going running really regularly again. And so like listening to this woman talk about this big physical challenge that she went through, yeah, it did sort of inspire me and did make me go, okay, if I get back into running and I get like physically fit, maybe there's something, some sort of challenge I can do. I like to have a plan, I like to have a goal. So I think having like a project, a thing to like accomplish, really hit the spot with me. So yeah, that kind of inspired me. So that is it. Those are all the things on the summer bucket list and all the books I sort of associate with those prompts. How would you answer these questions? Have you read any of the books that I talked about? Based on what I've said about some of these books, do you have any recommendations for me? Leave your comments down below, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!